Here in Pittsburgh, snow flurries since early this morning. Temperatures in the upper 20s, although I have to say it feels a lot colder than that here. As we welcome you inside Heinz Field, Spiro Dedes, Steve Berline, our entire CBS crew with you. Steelers and the Browns, as Cleveland today trying to sweep the Steelers for the first time since 1998, the Bernie Kosar era. Mike Tomlin looking on. There is Phil Dawson, selected to the Pro Bowl this week for the first time. Back deep, Chris Rainey, the very talented rookie, former collegiate star at Florida, standing back deep in his own end zone. Browns at 5-10, Steelers 7-8. After their nosedive over the last 6 weeks, Rainey able to elude tacklers up the sideline across the 20 and brought down at the 25-yard line. So Ben Roethlisberger trying to put the disappointment of each of the last 2 weeks behind him. It'll take him a long time to do so. A two-time Super Bowl champion, taking his Steelers offense onto the field. You see his numbers on the season. Just 8 interceptions, but some very costly picks, to say the very least. 2 last week, had the pick 6 early to Leon Hall, as the Steelers are beaten here by the Cincinnati Bengals, a game that knocked them for postseason contention in the AFC. This is 1st and 10. Roethlisberger eluding the sack and then completes out of the backfield at the 30-yard line. That's Jericho Cotchery, the 9th-year man, for a pickup of 8. Starters in front of Roethlisberger today. Kelvin Beachum, the rookie out of SMU, 23-year-old, will start at one spot in place of the injured Mike Adams. Backs and receivers, Emmanuel Sanders getting the nod today for Mike Wallace, who was placed on IR yesterday. Sanders, 30-year man and former third-round pick back in 2010. Roethlisberger on 2nd and 2. Give to Jonathan Dwyer. Dwyer making the start, approaching 600 yards for the season, a minimal gain on 2nd down. Defensively for the Browns, Jabal Shear, the former star as a Pitt Panther, former All-American back in 2010, returns to Pittsburgh. Linebacker core featuring DeQuell Jackson, 7 years in the NFL, yet to experience the postseason. He'll miss out again. Secondary, a unit that has been racked by injuries. Buster Skrine in for Sheldon Brown, who is incredible consecutive games played streak ending at 175. 3rd and short. Isaac Redmond trying to find a first down marker. The Cleveland's front holds steady, and Pittsburgh will punt.
Well, you know, one of the things that we felt walking around the Pittsburgh Steelers facility yesterday was that everybody was kind of in a little bit of shock, almost in awe of the fact that they had really nothing to play for this weekend. We talked to Ben Roethlisberger about it. He told us that one of his priorities coming into the NFL was to never have a losing season. That was going to motivate him enough just to try and do whatever he can do to keep this team at 500 at least.
Butler's punt fielded by Cribbs at the 20. Cribbs so dangerous, 2 career punt returns for touchdowns. There's a marker thrown back at the 27. 46-yard punt by Butler, 22 yards on the return.
Yeah, Cleveland's going to get hit, I think, with the block in the back. Very good effort.
Return, holding number 23 of the return team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
It's Joe Hayden, the former first-round draft choice cornerback.
So with the penalty, Browns will be pinned back a little deeper, and what a moment this is for Thad Lewis. On for the injured Brandon Whedon, who has lost to a shoulder injury. Lewis under center, making his NFL debut today. First start, first time he'll play in a game. Says that he is realizing a lifelong dream, something he has dreamt of as a kid, this moment here. And how about doing it against the #1 defense in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers and Dick LeBeau. 1st and 10. Little fake handoff. They go quickly to the outside to the rookie Josh Gordon. 2nd among all NFL rookies with 766 yards receiving, a pickup of 11. Joe Thomas headed to the Pro Bowl for the 6th time to start his career. Only Jim Brown, the The only other Browns player selected to a Pro Bowl each of his first 6 years in the NFL. Backs and receivers, Montario Hardesty in, and Trent Richardson out. That ankle sprain also sustained last Sunday. After the first down pass play, Browns keep it on the ground out past the 30. That's Hardesty. Today making his first start of the season. Defensively for the Steelers, Brad Kiesel talked about what a difference this is. Brett Kiesel, the former BYU standout. This is something he has never experienced in his 11 years. A meaningless December football game. Lawrence Timmons has had a Pro Bowl caliber year, selected as an alternate, as is that man Ryan Clark. At the back end of the Steelers secondary. Lewis, tough throw, kind of hit right on the release over the middle to find the tight end Ben Watson across the 35 and a pickup of about 6.
This is a heck of a job by young Thad Lewis. Gets hit right in the chest by Timmons as he's letting go of the football. Watches right in the rib cage, but stands in there and delivers a catchable ball to the still very productive tight end Ben Watson in his 9th year. Came over from New England after his 6th year. Been here and is really one of the only veterans with winning experience on this Cleveland Browns team. And he said he felt that Thad Lewis was going to do okay today.
Gordon in motion on 3rd and 2 from about the 37. Lewis sells it well over the middle, but Gordon covered. Ryan Clark on the coverage. Also Keenan Lewis there for the Steelers, and the Browns will punt.
Now that was a play there, Spiro, where Thad Lewis, Pat Shurmur showed some confidence in Thad Lewis to run the hard play action, try and get Josh Gordon, the star wide receiver, rookie, up the field. But what Thad Lewis should have seen was that it was not the opportunity they were looking for. Pittsburgh did not bite on the play action. There was not an opportunity. He should have tried to find someone to check it down to, or possibly he's athletic enough to make the play himself on 3rd and short.
Reggie Hodges on to punt. And Antonio Brown fielding from his own 15-yard line. Brown zigzags up across the 20 and brought down at the 25. An 11-yard return after a 48-yard punt from Hodges. Roethlisberger back onto the field next. Steeler fans as loyal as ever. His team out of postseason contention. Braving the elements here with temperatures below freezing. As Jonathan Dwyer goes right over center, pickup of 8 yards on first down. And the demise of the Steelers team, certainly among the big surprises, Steve, in the NFL this season. A proud franchise. They'll miss out for the first time since 2009. And you consider the weapons that they've had. I know Roethlisberger's been hurt, but you've got a top-flight franchise quarterback. You've got a great wide receiver in Wallace. The running backs by committee that they've had, and this defense just makes the season that they've had all the more surprising. As Roethlisberger gives to Dwyer here on 2nd and 2.
Well, and as you talk about Ben Roethlisberger, the thing that's been so, I think, unique in the last few weeks has been the crucial interceptions that he's thrown right there to Brandon Carr. The Dallas Cowboys set up the losing field goal for the Pittsburgh Steelers in overtime. And then last week, the interception late against the Cincinnati Bengals with about 15 seconds left in the ballgame. Andy Dalton then completed a pass, and then Cincinnati kicked the field goal last play of the game to beat Pittsburgh again. So the timing has been what's so unique about it, because Ben Roethlisberger has been so clutch for this organization.
Roethlisberger on 3rd and 1. His pass nearly picked right through the hands of D'Qwell Jackson. As Roethlisberger trying to locate David Paulson, the man starting today for Heath Miller. Lost last week to that ACL tear.
Well, we talk about bad throws by Ben Roethlisberger. That might be the worst throw I've ever seen Ben Roethlisberger make. D'Qwell Jackson right in position to make that catch. Should have made that catch for the Cleveland Browns. That was another shot, this time by the Pittsburgh Steelers on 3rd and short, to try and throw the ball, catch Cleveland up, playing run too aggressively. Right there, Ben Roethlisberger knows enough. Don't force it if it's not there. Very lucky to get away with that one.
Well, as frustrating a year as Ben Roethlisberger has had to endure here. Missed the 3 games earlier. Excellent punt by Butler, and the Steelers will pin them back inside the 10. Josh Victorian, the backup cornerback, able to march down the field and get to it for the Steelers. Officially a 61-yard punt by Butler.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go. And by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more.
Spiro Dedes, Steve Berline with you here from Pittsburgh Heinz Field. Game scoreless. Second offensive drive for the Browns. Thad Lewis, the second-year quarterback, making his NFL debut. Under center on 1st and 10 from the 5. Short gain on first down. Tackle made by Brett Kiesel. The star defensive end there is Lewis. First start for him in a game since senior day at Duke back in November of 2009. Again, coming against Wake Forest. Bit of a different challenge today against the Steelers club. Lewis on 2nd and 10, airs it out. It's caught over the middle by Watson. Watson across the 10 and forced out of bounds at about the 18-yard line by Lawrence Timmons and James Harrison. Let's go to New York, get an update with James Brown.
Good start with Pagano back on the sideline.
That's right, JB. 13 plays. Here's a touchdown pass from Andrew Luck to Colby Fleener.
All right, guys, an emotional day there. So much to play for both of those teams today. As we will keep you updated on that one. 3rd and 2. Nice throw and an even better catch by Greg Little, the second-year man from North Carolina. 7 yards and a Cleveland first down.
Spiro, one of the things, and I mentioned in the open, that I had the opportunity to coach Thad Lewis in the Texas versus the Nation All-Star game coming out of college, out of Duke. Mainly for players that were not expected to be drafted, but for NFL teams to get a look at these players to maybe sign them as undrafted free agents. And I was impressed by his poise and by his understanding of the game of football. And so far, he's looking pretty confident out there right now.
1st and 10, just got past the 20. Hardesty on a little second effort, gets close to the 25. As we head back to New York, busy times around the NFL. Giants-Philly with JB.
Good start for the Giants.
Well, not a good start for Michael Vick. He throws an interception on his second pass attempt. Eli Manning throws one to Ruben Randall. 3-yard TD pass. 7-0 Giants. Giants need to win to stay in the playoff hunt in the NFC.
And a lot of help. Back to Spiro and Steve.
All right, guys, thanks. And as they said, Giants need to win first and then need a lot of other things to happen to get in. As Lewis on 2nd and 8 throws it behind Little, who was wide open, close to the 30-yard line.
You're right, Spiro. Greg Little was wide open. Thad Lewis under a little bit of pressure. That was the first ball that looked like it kind of got away from him a little bit in these tough conditions. But Greg Little was wide open underneath. He could have caught this ball if the ball was on the money accurate. You see there's no others. You don't even see a Steeler in the picture. He was going to catch that ball and turn up the sideline for maybe another 10 or 15 yards before he even had to make a move. That's got to frustrate Pat Shurmur right there.
3rd and 8. Shurmur said his only expectations for Lewis today: complete 65% of his passes and don't throw any picks. Certainly easier said than done against the Steelers defense. He completes here over the middle. That time right on the money to Little. First down for Cleveland and much more, close to the 50 after a pickup of 23.
Oh, this time again under pressure, Thad Lewis does a good job of finding Little. And one of the other things Pat Shurmur said was he expects Thad Lewis to play winning football. Right now he's doing that. You see again a good accurate throw by Thad Lewis for the nice pickup to Greg Little.
Steve, you've been here before. You know, you dream as a kid of finally getting in an NFL game, and it's finally here. You just wonder what's going through the mind of Thad Lewis. 1st and 10, they spotted at the 47. They give Lewis time. He slings it down the middle of the field, incomplete. Trying to find Gordon. But so far, he's done a nice job. He's missed a couple of throws, but trying to fight through those early game jitters.
Yeah, it's a very normal. Anytime when you're playing here in Pittsburgh, a few balls are going to get away from you, especially in December when these conditions, as cold as it is. That time Thad Lewis had to move a little bit in the pocket, but what I've been impressed with so far is that he's seemed very, very poised, very much under control, making good decisions for the most part where to go with the football right there. Really had to move in the pocket, threw it away more than anything.
Lewis under center on 2nd and 10. Give to Hardesty, inside Steelers territory, first down and more. Across the 40, close to the 35. Tackle made by Troy Polamalu, Cortez Allen after a run of 16 yards.
Well, this time right behind number 73 left tackle Joe Thomas, who's never missed a snap in his 6-year NFL career. Montario Hardesty excited about the opportunity to play today after the injury to Trent Richardson. That was a nice run. They got after Pittsburgh up front pretty hard there.
Hardesty cuts it back. Busts inside the 35. A man who has been really perseverance personified. First 3 years very difficult for Hardesty. That ACL tear before his rookie season. Was able to fight his way back. Was never quite healthy in 2011. And here he is finally with a chance to start for the first time this season after the injury to Trent Richardson. 3-yard pickup sets up a 2nd and 7 from the Steelers 33. Lewis goes play action, finds his man wide open at the 20-yard line. There's Cleveland.
That's Travis Benjamin right there. And this is a kid that's another young receiver for the Cleveland Browns, drafted in the 4th round this year. Travis Benjamin, he plays a lot on special teams, but has become more of a go-to guy the last few weeks. And you can see these young players really excited about getting the opportunity to go up against this veteran Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
1st and 10, Browns drive it. Lewis on the pitch to Hardesty. Trying to cut it back, but he's buried for a loss. Larry Foote, the 11th-year linebacker, getting there first. And a good start here with Lewis driving them inside Steelers territory.
Yeah, out of his own end zone. This first pass started out there. And the thing that, again, is impressing me is that he's not looking flustered, rattled at all. He looks very much under control. Not surprising to me from the standpoint that I got the impression when I did spend a little time with him a couple years ago that he was the kind of kid that was not going to get too overwhelmed by an opportunity. He was just looking for an opportunity, and here today he's shown that he's ready for it.
Watson in motion, 2nd and 13. Then they go play action. His pass intercepted by Polamalu, able to stay in bounds as Lewis makes his first mistake of the afternoon. Troy Polamalu, the 5-time All-Pro, bothered by the calf early, gets it back for the Steelers.
Well, 0-0 here in Pittsburgh, and Troy Polamalu comes up with the first big play of the game for Pittsburgh. You're going to see him right here. He just kind of baits Thad Lewis into throwing the ball to the bottom of the screen. That's Travis Benjamin, and really Thad Lewis takes his eyes off just for a second, then he's got maybe a little bit of impeding vision by the pressure up the field. You see Polamalu more than willing to take advantage of the poor decision by the young quarterback.
So Roethlisberger back onto the field on 1st and 10. He goes play action, goes deep down the far side. It's caught. Antonio Brown deep inside Cleveland territory. 43 yards through the air from Roethlisberger.
This truly is a beautiful throw, but we got a penalty flag on the field. But you're going to see
Pass the distance to the goal. First down.
the ball is thrown so beautifully over the top of the safety Haig, but it doesn't matter. It's all for naught. Get a holding penalty called against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and boy, that was the jump start that Ben Roethlisberger wanted to provide for this ball club. They needed it badly.
It's just the kind of run it's been for this Pittsburgh team. 1-5 over the last 6 games. A free fall that really was exacerbated with that loss to the Browns here in Week 12. 8 turnovers in that game in Cleveland. Has never quite recovered from that point on. This is 1st and 18. Roethlisberger to Will Johnson. Johnson across the 15-yard line, trying to get to the original line of scrimmage. They'll keep your fantasy football season going with Playoff Challenge and compete throughout the postseason for a chance to win up to $1,600. Sign up now at cbssports.com/fantasy.
Spiro, that holding penalty was called on Doug Legursky. We didn't get a chance to show it to you because we were so caught up in the great throw by Ben Roethlisberger. There you see Legursky, number 64. That's a big penalty coming out of your own end zone.
180!
Keenan Lewis, we're told, has a knee injury for the Steelers. His return questionable. 2nd and 11. As Pittsburgh going backwards, Antonio Brown dumped inside the 5. Tackle made by the middle linebacker, Craig Robertson. As Pittsburgh loses 13 yards.
I really question the play call there by Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator for Pittsburgh. When you're backed up inside your own 20, one of the things that very few coaches will ever do is try to run a reverse, some kind of a gimmick play backed up in your own end zone. Because of that happening right there, I mean, you're basically now giving Cleveland the ball, barring a miracle play from Pittsburgh here on your side of the football field because of that play.
Steelers just trying to get some yardage back. 3rd and 24. Dwyer making guys miss. Hard run to the 15-yard line, but well short of the first 12-yard run as the Steelers will punt. And it has been a difficult first year here as the offensive coordinator. That's putting it mildly for Todd Haley. A lot of talk about he and Roethlisberger kind of butting heads. And Steve, as you know, you don't always have to get along, coach and player, but the chemistry between those two just hasn't seemed to translate to the field as this offense has struggled, it seems like, from week 1.
Well, it's hard to read how that relationship is really progressing, but the bottom line is the last 6 weeks, this offense has not been as productive as it was early in the season.
Very short punt by Butler, and Cleveland will have excellent field position inside Steelers territory when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by AT&T. Rethink possible. And by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side.
Ben Roethlisberger and company going backwards on that last drive, so excellent field position for Thad Lewis and the Browns. 1st and 10 from the Pittsburgh 47. This is Brandon Jackson, 60th man from Nebraska. Getting close to the 40 after a nice run on 1st down. Well, not only does CBS have the #1 comedy and drama and top new shows, but this season more people watch the NFL on CBS than any other network, and for that we thank you so very much. Happy New Year from Pittsburgh. Spiro Diaz, Steve Berline, our entire CBS crew with you. At least in the early going, it looks like Cleveland was going for it. Steelers just kind of playing out the string at this point as Gordon catches at the 25-yard line. Another Cleveland 1st down. And a good start for Lewis. He did throw that last pick to Polamalu. But that one good for 17 yards.
Oh, this is a really nice throw again by Thad Lewis, setting up strong in the pocket. Finds his big receiver, Josh Gordon, coming across the middle in front of Josh Victorian as we come to the end of the 1st quarter. Cleveland seems like they're ready to play today.
End of 1 here in Pittsburgh. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Back in Pittsburgh, start of the 2nd quarter. Thad Lewis has the Browns driving again. 2nd time they've been inside Pittsburgh territory. 1st down run by Jackson. Get close to the 20, and at least up to this point, as I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, it's been Cleveland playing with the urgency and Pittsburgh playing on their heels.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it doesn't take a whole lot to motivate a football team. This is a Cleveland Browns team very frustrated, but the opportunity to sweep the Pittsburgh Steelers for the first time since '88. We see Josh Cribbs, the quarterback right now, in the Wildcat. But I think this team wants to make a statement for Pat Shurmur for their head coach as well.
Flag on the play.
Markers flown.
Full start, 82, offense, 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
That's the tight end, Ben Watson. Flagged on the play. See him on the right side of the offensive line. And clearly moved before the snap.
2nd down and 11.
Now, we talked to DeQuell Jackson yesterday, and he said the first thing they tell you when you sign by Cleveland is that you have to beat Pittsburgh. It's something that they haven't had much success in doing. And as Steve pointed out, haven't swept them since '88, back in the days of Bernie Kosar and Ernest Biner. But they've got a chance today as Pat Shurmur keeps it on the ground.
Handoff goes to Jackson.
On second down to pick up a 5 yards.
Tackle by Timmons.
And speaking of Pat Shurmur, we told you about the reports that have been rampant all week, and one coming out last night that Shurmur and the GM Tom Heckert will be relieved of their duties. And you know, Steve, whether or not you're a fan of Pat Shurmur as a coach, I'm not sure any coach could have fared better with the circumstances that he has had to deal with. Starting last year, coming out of the lockout as a first-year NFL head coach. It's a big 3rd and 6 play from the 20. Lewis from the gun. Lewis dangerous as a runner, won't find the move and a room to work with there.
On the scramble tackle.
As Cleveland will send out the field goal unit, but a very difficult set of circumstances that Shurmur's had to contend with.
No doubt about it. You see the play right there by James Harrison, and then Kiesel coming over to get in on as well. But yeah, very, very difficult. You combine the fact they had the lockout going into the first year, and then coming into the second season, they have the ownership change, and what they thought was going to be a 5-year plan with Mike Holmgren as the president of the whole organization. It became suddenly a 5-month plan, and that is a very difficult situation to inherit.
39-yard attempt by Dawson is no good.
You know, this is one of the most difficult places in the NFL by far to kick field goals. Phil Dawson found out the hard way right there.
Well, Phil Dawson headed to his first Pro Bowl, missing from 39 yards out. Very difficult kicking conditions here. Not much wind, but it's very cold. Light snow flurries at this point. As Pittsburgh's offense back onto the field. So far, 3 possessions for Ben Roethlisberger and company. And they're still looking for their first down, and right on cue, they've got it across the 40. Plaxico Burress with his first reception of the day.
You know, one of the things Ben Roethlisberger said that he wasn't vocal enough the first time through when he was a younger quarterback who was standing up for Plaxico Burress. He says they really paid the price by letting him get away the first time, and he sure is happy to have him back right now.
First and 10 after the 12-yard pass play. They spotted at the 41. Tight end Paulson in motion. This is Rashard Mendenhall getting to the outside, close to the 50, and lunges inside Cleveland territory. And is right at that first down marker. It'll depend on the spot.
Well, you're going to see just a basic sweep play right there. You see getting outside, David DeCastro, a bunch of people getting out there in front of Rashard Mendenhall with his first big carry of the day. Good positive run following up the first down completion to Plaxico Burress. Maybe this Pittsburgh Steelers offense is waking up a little bit here.
Well, frustrating year it's been for Rashard Mendenhall. Inactive 9 games this year due to injury or suspension. There's a nice cutback play. Mendenhall looking for more inside the 45. On first and 10. Tackle made by Tayshaun Gibson from his back safety position. Coming up, the Verizon halftime report from New York. JB, Dan, Shannon Bloomer, and Coach Cowher. We'll have all the latest NFL scores and highlights, plus all the latest postseason information. It's all coming up on the Verizon halftime report. We're at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. Steelers trying to avoid their first losing season since 2003. It's only happened 3 times here in the last 20 years. 98, 99, and 03. This is second down and 6. Ball came out loose. But after Mendenhall hit the ground. And Mendenhall, one of the many decisions, Steve, that they'll have to decide on here in the offseason. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. You mentioned Plaxico Burress. Mike Wallace, who's their top wide receiver, of course, also a free agent. As you take a look, and this one
definitely down. L.J. Fort, the rookie linebacker, is the one that came in and put his helmet on the football after after Rashard Mendenhall had hit the ground. And remember, Rashard Mendenhall was a big part of the debacle in Week 12 with all the turnovers, the 8 turnovers against Cleveland the first time.
2 fumbles in that game, one that was lost. 3rd and 5, Roethlisberger, patented throw, finds Jericho Cotchery with a 13-yard pass play and a Steelers first down.
This is a great pickup, I think, by the Pittsburgh Steelers coming into this season. We looked at an injured player. That's David DeCastro, the right guard. But Jericho Cotchery, a nice addition to this receiving core for Ben Roethlisberger.
Now, a frustrating year for the rookie. DeCastro, the first-year man out of Stanford, starting his 3rd straight game since coming back from the long layoff, tore knee ligaments in a preseason game against the Bills. So DeCastro will come off the field at least for one play here. It's a 1st and 10. Doug Legursky has come in and replaced DeCastro. Roethlisberger has time. It's incomplete, intended for Cotchery. And now some extra pushing after the whistle. Officials quickly separate the players as the Steelers will have it 2nd and 10.
The Quail Jackson actually is the one that breaks this play up. He's not feeling too good after that play, but let's see what the scuffle was all about right there. Just a little bit of tangling up right there. That was going on. Mr. Hughes not too excited about that for the Cleveland Browns.
It's a 2nd and 10. Isaac Redman across the 25. As the Steelers going with this 3-headed monster at the running back position. Redman goes for 7. Redman also be a free agent. He'll be restricted after the season, as the Steelers will have the 3rd and 7.
You look at the quarterback comparison right there.
52.
Big 3rd down opportunity for Ben Roethlisberger right now. You got Plexico Burress on top, one-on-one up here at the top of your screen.
Roethlisberger on 3rd and 3. This is Redman, and he is going nowhere. Steelers needed to get to the 20. Tackle made by the former Pitt Panther Jabal Shear.
Yeah, Jabal Shear and Billy Wynn, the 6th-round draft choice this year out of Boise State, are the ones that get in there and really make this play. And that's the 2nd time that Pittsburgh has been held up short on 3rd and short, trying to get physical, running right at this Cleveland Browns defense. And I'll tell you, one of the things that Pat Shurmur was mentioning to us was that he feels like this defense has got a lot of good young talent, especially up front, and they're making it look true right now.
41-yard attempt by Sweezum is good. So Cleveland, a couple of deep drives inside Pittsburgh territory. No points to show for it as the Steelers take the 3-0 lead.
Wolverton of Ewing, New Jersey, and Benny Smith.
41-yard field goal by Sean Sweezum as the Steelers drive stalls. 9 plays, 48 yards, 3-0 Steelers. We're just under 8 minutes to play before halftime here in Pittsburgh. Sweezum on the punt crib, standing back deep in his own end zone. Cribs will watch this one bounce into the end zone, a touchback. As Cleveland will have it from their own 20-yard line when we come back. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Acura. Acura. Advance. Farmers. Find a knowledgeable local farmers agent at farmers.com. We are insurance. We are farmers. And by T-Mobile. Nationwide 4G coverage from coast to coast.
$3-0 you score. Oh, who would have thought that the Steelers would be fighting to get to 500 in Week 17? Some other surprises around the NFL. Adrian Peterson, a remarkable season he has had after the knee reconstruction. NFL's leader in rushing, the Indianapolis Colts, right at the top of that list. Incredible as they get Chuck Pagano back today as their head coach, and Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, 10 wins entering Week 17 as they are postseason bound, and then the disappointments in Philadelphia and Detroit, just 4 wins for each of those teams. Thad Lewis making his NFL debut back under center, 1st and 10 from the 20. Lewis over the middle, finds Watson across the 30. And brought down at the 35-yard line. Again, the 1 interception to Troy Polamalu. I'm not sure, though, that Pat Shurmur could have expected a better start than this from Lewis.
No, I don't think so. But you did get that, the perception that Pat Shurmur really felt sneaky good about how Thad Lewis was going to perform, and he's come out very well prepared today so far.
Lewis has been in this system a couple of years as they keep it on the ground on 1st and 10. Ontario Hardesty for a minimal gain after a tackle by James Harrison. Let's go back to New York and an update with JP and Boomer.
Bears trying to help themselves into the postseason.
Well, they have to win and they have to hope for a Minnesota loss. How about this 60-yard touchdown reception? It looks good in the stats. It's awful for the defense of the Detroit Lions. Chicago tacks on a field goal. They lead 10-3 over the Lions.
Boy, Earl Bennett moving quickly. Spiro and Steve.
Well, Chicago's got to win that game. They need some help, though, as well.
Nice throw to the outside. Travis Benjamin with a second reception. That went good for 8 yards. And Cleveland once again able to move the chains for the first down.
And on that note, with Chicago fighting for the playoffs, the only way they get in is if Minnesota loses. And that's all they can hope for.
See the first down discrepancy. But can Cleveland generate some points? 1st and 10 from the 46. Inside Steelers territory, Ziggy Hood on the tackle of Hardesty. Let's get an update back to New York.
Eagles are on the board.
It's a problem when you're playing a team that has nothing to play for. 4th and 1. Mike Vick's going to roll out to his left, find Jeremy Maclin. Eli Manning's already thrown 3 touchdown passes in this game. 21-7, Giants over the Eagles.
Spiro and Steve.
Giants will be paying close attention to that game tonight, of course, in D.C. between the Redskins and Cowboys. 2nd and 5. Hardesty, a nice cutback inside the Steelers' 45. And will have enough for the Cleveland first down as the clock continues to run now under 6 minutes to play.
Well, one of the things that I think Cleveland has decided to do today, because they know that what Pittsburgh kind of thrives on, especially against a young quarterback, is confusion. They do a lot of movement on defense, but what Cleveland is doing to combat that, they're shifting on offense quite a bit, and that's not allowing Pittsburgh to get into their sets and mix it up defensively.
Little in motion, 1st and 10. Lewis completes again to Gordon. Gordon taking on 2 tacklers at the 32. Ryan Clark, Josh Victorian combining on the tackle. And a Cleveland first down.
I really like the way this Josh Gordon looks. And remember, as a supplemental pick, he wasn't drafted by the Cleveland Browns until about a month before training camp. So he did not get to go through the off-season stuff, the OTAs with the Cleveland Browns and Pat Shurmur in this offense. That's one of the things that's been most impressive to Pat Shurmur, is that this kid has really picked it up quickly on the move. And he's coming in this game the number 2 rookie wide receiver in the league in terms of yardage.
Lewis under shotgun on 1st and 10. That was nearly picked. Well, you make one little mistake against the Steelers defense and they'll make you pay for it, as Josh Victorian nearly had the interception. Well, no one knows the game quite like a quarterback. Break down all the NFL action on NFL Monday QB tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Steve Berline and the guys will be back with you as they break down everything Week 17 around the NFL.
Something tells me I have a lot to talk about tomorrow.
2nd and 10. Pat Shurmur keeps it on the ground to Hardesty. Gets back to the line of scrimmage. Larry Foote on the tackle. You just talked about Josh Gordon, the guy who was taken in the supplemental draft. A year ago at this time, he was on the scout team, Steve, at Utah. He transferred, of course, from Baylor after he was suspended from the team and failed the drug test there. He was out of football basically for all of 2011. People forgot that this guy existed in football circles, and he's become a star.
And you got to give credit to Cleveland for seeing that potential and for taking the chance.
This is 3rd and 10. Lewis feeling the pressure. It's incomplete. Ryan Clark on the coverage of Watson. And it will be 4th and 10.
Well, that was good defense across the board by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It starts with pressure up front. And you see Timmons getting in there, getting a hit on Lewis late, but right there, good coverage across the board for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was Ryan Clark preventing the completion.
Dawson missed earlier from 39. How about this decision now? Longest field goal ever made in this stadium, 52 yards.
And Dawson 6 of 6 from 50 plus on the season, but this is a tough place to do it.
This one is online, and it is good. How about that response by Dawson, headed to his first ever Pro Bowl, hitting from 51 yards to tie this game at 3. This could very well be the final game as Cleveland head coach for Pat Shurmur rolls the dice, sends Phil Dawson out for a 51-yard kick. Kicker converts, and we are tied at 3. Late stages first half here at Heinz Field. Return out past the 15-yard line by Chris Rainey, so Ben Roethlisberger back onto the field. 3:42 to play before half.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Microsoft Surface and by the all-new Honda Accord. It starts with you.
Snowy Pittsburgh on a late December Sunday. Uncharted territory for these fans watching the game here. It really doesn't mean much. Steelers out of postseason contention. First time they'll miss the tournament since 2009. Roethlisberger on 1st and 10 goes through his progressions, finds Antonio Brown across the 30. Pittsburgh first down after a pickup of 13 yards.
Really nice example right there from Ben Roethlisberger getting through his progression. You could tell he wanted to throw the ball to the right side, but knew exactly where his third receiver was in Antonio Brown on the backside. Antonio Brown had a 60-yard touchdown last week, the only touchdown for the Steelers. 3 straight games with a touchdown.
5 receptions, 97 yards in that game. Brown bothered by an ankle injury earlier in the season, missed 3 games. Roethlisberger from the gun, 1st and 10. Finds Mendenhall out of the backfield, but Mendenhall, I'm not sure he got back to the line of scrimmage. Tackle made by Eric Hagg. Both teams with 3 timeouts to play as we come up on the 2-minute warning here.
That was very well played by the Cleveland defense right there. Hagg in perfect position to make that tackle after the short catch, as you said, for no gain.
Cleveland defense that started so well that season opening defeat to Philly. They probably should have won. Dealing with a boatload of injuries. Roethlisberger play action, hit as he throws, finds Mendenhall. But again, very minimal gain, so a 3rd and long for the Steelers.
With a pass.
Tackle made by Ishmaeli Kitchen. Coming up with the pressure. As we reach the 2-minute warning here in Pittsburgh, Steelers and Browns tied at 3. Steelers actually electing to call a timeout, so not quite at the 2-minute warning. 2:12 to play in the second.
I think that hit by Ishmaeli Kitchen on Ben Roethlisberger, he got up a little gingerly after that play.
It's a 3rd and 8 from the Steelers' 33-yard line. Roethlisberger pump fakes going deep down the sideline, not even close. Steelers wanted an interference call as Roethlisberger unable to locate Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, Trevin Wade was in good position on Emmanuel Sanders right there. Yeah, did they get their feet tangled up? Sure, they did. That ball, I think, was uncatchable anyway, but Trevin Wade had the advantageous position there over the top of Emmanuel Sanders anyway.
David DeCastro, the Steelers first-round guard, we're told has a stinger. His return questionable at this point. Joshua Cribb signals fair catch at about the 26. And Cleveland with all 3 timeouts. Back onto the field. 40-yard punt by Drew Butler. Timeout here on CBS. Oh, how nice would it be for Thad Lewis to put a win in Pittsburgh on the resume in his NFL debut. Starting today for the first time in a game for him since senior day at Duke back in late 2009. Brandon Weaver first down with the shoulder injury. This is 1st and 10. Lewis fakes the handoff, throwing on the run, and threw it right at the feet of Hardesty as the Browns will have it 2nd and 10.
No harm done here. They tried to go with the hard play action pass. Pittsburgh did not bite. They're so well schooled in their assignments, and you really got to out-execute them if you want a chance to beat this defense right there. Good decision by the young quarterback. Even scrambling for 3 or 4 yards doesn't help you because you got to burn one of your timeouts.
Browns with 3 left. Steelers have 2. Up to the second year man through here. This is 2nd and 10. Finds Gordon. Gordon fumbles the football, and Pittsburgh recovers. Lawrence Timmons falling on the football, but an injured Steeler down. It's Brett Kiesel. Boy, a week after he helped off his good friend Heath Miller off the field with that devastating ACL tear, Kiesel is now lying on his back. And you saw the Steeler players immediately, Steve, looking over at the Steelers trainers to come onto the field. I'm not sure if you want to look at this. Right at the end of the play.
That's too bad. He's up. Walking off the field, but you hope it's nothing significant.
Oh, twisted irony. A week after he helps his good friend Heath Miller off the field, Brett Kiesel goes right into the Steelers' locker room.
See him grab that right knee area immediately after Ziggy Hood rolled up on him.
Second Cleveland turnover. It's Roethlisberger and company. The football 1st and 10 from the Browns 24 with 2 timeouts left. Roethlisberger going deep side, near side, incomplete. Looking for Antonio Brown. Well, here was the play. Heath Miller, guy who's been the heart and soul of this Pittsburgh team, tearing his ACL. Really shook the team up, Steve. It was Kiesel who walked him off the field. Guys who have been close since day one here. Their lockers next to each other. Their wives, their kids are very, very close.
And it was very traumatic for both. Kiesel very, very upset about the whole situation to his good friend. And we just hope nothing nearly as severe for him to deal with this offseason.
This is Isaac Redman on 2nd and 10. Bursting through the Cleveland defense across the 15-yard line, and again players have to be separated. This is an AFC North rivalry that goes back a long time. 11-yard run for Redmond as the officials trying to sort through it all. No penalty markers are on the field.
Spiro, there's no love lost between these two teams at all. At any point, we'll watch the end of this play, see what happens, but the frustration both teams this year is so significant. You see bodies flying around everywhere. Everybody seems to be looking for a piece.
It was Legursky, Steve, and Craig Robertson. Robertson didn't appreciate at the end of the play, and Legursky kind of caught him a bit. Tempers flare. So 1st and 10 from the 13 as Pittsburgh will take its second timeout. And Roethlisberger doesn't look happy.
30-second timeout.
Minor coming up. We'll send you to New York. The Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Dan Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Cowher will have the latest postseason information on a busy week 17 around the NFL. It's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Postseason picture finally will be settled by tonight. And in the AFC, all 6 teams are confirmed, just about seedings at this point.
And 3 weeks ago, who would have thought that Houston would have to go into Indianapolis and win that game against a very, very tough and confident Indianapolis Colts football team, and they're not. Indianapolis Colts is making it very difficult on them right now. Houston doesn't come out with that win. Well, what a tremendous turn of events. They would drop down to the 3rd or 4th spot depending on the rest of the things happening.
Right now, Colts winning that game 7-6. Roethlisberger on 1st and 10. Going end zone, it's incomplete and a marker thrown late. Eric Hagg on the coverage. And Emmanuel Sanders, the intended receiver.
Yeah, no doubt. That was
Pass
early
interference,
contact.
27, defense. Foul occurred in the end zone. Will place the ball at the 1-yard line. First down.
I love the break on the football by Eric Hagg, but he just a little too early. You see
62. It's an eligible receiver.
good quick decision by Ben Roethlisberger. Thought he had the opportunity he wanted, and Hagg come over the top. No doubt about that one. Emmanuel Sanders did not have a chance to make that catch.
So the marker gives Pittsburgh possession. They spotted at the 1 on 1st and goal. Johnson in motion. Roethlisberger fakes the handoff. End zone touchdown. Leonard Pope gives Pittsburgh the lead.
Leonard Pope on the backside of your picture there actually comes across faking what's called the wham action. He came over from the right wing position, pretended he was going to block the nose tackle of Tyler Rubin for the Cleveland Browns, but slipped right through and nobody saw him coming behind the line of scrimmage. Easy throw and catch from Ben Roethlisberger to Leonard Pope.
Second receiving touchdown for Pope on the season. And the point after attempt makes it a 7-point Steelers lead. So Steelers 7-8. Just trying to get to 500 at this point. Coming up on a busy day here on CBS. A run up to the postseason winds down. Reggie Bush and the Dolphins will take on Tom Brady and the Patriots. Also KC Denver, as Peyton Manning leads the Broncos towards the NFL playoffs. What a year it's been for them in Denver. NFL on CBS. We are in Pittsburgh. And right now the Steelers in front of the Browns 10-3 as Cleveland's second turnover comes back to bite them. And there's Josh Gordon. Ankle injury, we're told.
And that happened on the turnover play. Josh Gordon having a tremendous year as a rookie wide receiver in the league. Pretty careless play with that football right there, and again, you just hope you never like to see players get hurt for obvious reasons, but late in the season you just hope and pray that it's nothing significant that will affect them getting ready for next year.
So again, an ankle injury for Gordon. His return questionable. This is Benjamin trying to get to the outside, crosses the 20. And brought down at the 24-yard line. Speaking of late in the season, hash marks and hashtags, trending topics around the NFL. What a year it's been for Calvin Johnson, surpassing the all-time great Jerry Rice. J.J. Watt approaches the all-time career sack mark for a single season. He tries to run down Michael Strahan, mark set back in 2001.
And the third one in there, as we saw, was AP with his run today at the all-time record set by Eric Dickerson, over 2,100 yards in a single season.
First and 10. This is Chris Ogbonnaya for the first time. First time we've seen him across the 30, close to the first down marker. Ryan Clark on the tackle after a pickup of 9.
You'd expect with the young quarterback Pat Shurmur, as he's doing right here, to be a little bit conservative in this situation.
I guess if you're a Browns fan, you ask, what do you got to lose, especially with 3 timeouts? It looks like they'll just let the clock run down. Second and 1. Lewis threw the early interception to Troy Polamalu, but other than that, he's looked pretty good considering this is his NFL debut. but the 2 turnovers really have been the difference as the Steelers take a 10-3 lead into the locker room. That's the end of the first half here in Pittsburgh. We'll be back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 47. Score here at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. Steelers 10, Browns 3. As we sit in for the second half here on CBS. Spiro Dedes and Steve Berline with you. Happy New Year. Glad to have you with us for part of your Sunday. Thad Lewis making his NFL debut. The second-year quarterback has never actually played in an NFL game. He's doing it against the #1 defense in the NFL. He did throw the pick, but other than that, he's looked pretty good.
Yeah, his college coach at Duke, David Cutcliffe, talked to him this week, wished him luck, and said, but you had to pick the toughest defense in football to go up against. Well, Thad Lewis has done very well today, but the problem is his team has made a couple mistakes. One by him, the early interception that took potential points off the board for the Cleveland Browns. And the second one right here, the fumble by Josh Gordon that led directly to the only touchdown of the game, the touchdown pass from Ben Roethlisberger to Leonard Pope. Big-time problems as a result of the turnovers. In a game like this, when it's so hard to score points in these conditions and against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, turnovers usually determine how this thing's going to turn out. Today, no different.
Total yardage favoring Cleveland with the 2 turnovers, as Steve pointed out. Really the difference at this point as Pittsburgh has the 7-point lead.
Yeah, I have been impressed with how Thad Lewis and this Cleveland Browns offense has played today. They've moved the ball up and down the field, but the Pittsburgh defense has been stingy when they've gotten into scoring position. There was the one missed field goal by Phil Dawson, the 39-yarder. He made up for it a little bit by making the 51-yarder, but I know Pat Shurmur, Thad Lewis, and all the Cleveland Browns faithful would have felt a little bit more comfortable with that extra 3 points on the board.
We have not been given official word yet on Brett Keisel, who left the game late in the first half with what appeared to be a serious knee injury. Keisel was able to walk off on his own power. And what a tough couple of weeks it's been here with the injuries. As I mentioned earlier, Heath Miller lost last week to the ACL tear. We'll try to get your word on Keisel as quickly as we can. Josh Briggs standing back about a yard deep in his own end zone, fielding. Across the 10, out past the 15, close to the 20. Tackle made at around the 19-yard line by Ryan Mundy. So Thad Lewis, first time he started the game since late 2009 at Duke.
Well, I've been pretty darn impressed with how he's played for the most part. That one throw intercepted by Troy Polamalu was the big mistake that did take points off the board, but he's been very decisive. He's been very quick. He hasn't looked confused at all by what is normally a pretty darn confusing defense, even to a veteran quarterback. So I've been impressed to this point.
First and 10. Ontario Hardesty starting today for Trent Richardson. We had a chance to sit with Thad Lewis last night when the Browns got into town. He's a very soft-spoken guy, quiet guy, and talked about this moment, Steve, that he has dreamt of since he was a kid. And it's finally here, and he's played well so far.
And it was genuine. A lot of times you see young quarterbacks who say what they think they're supposed to say, but you could just see him smile and his eyes kind of light up when he started talking about, hey, this is finally the opportunity he's been waiting so long for.
One play on second down. Now we're told it is a knee injury for Keisel. He will not return. It's the right knee that he sustained after Ziggy Hood rolled up on him late on a play in the first half.
It was the turnover play, the Josh Gordon fumble, and Ziggy Hood pursuing from the inside out. Keisel had already arrived at the scene of the turnover, and just one of those unfortunate things that happen when bodies are flying around.
Keenan Lewis also will not return, a right knee injury as well. So 2 defensive starters right there for the Steelers, done for the day. Parker's whistle to play dead before it happened.
False start, number 77, offense. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
We've also been told that David DeCastro, we told you, had a stinger earlier. We're now told he will not return to the game. DeCastro today making his 3rd start after the lengthy injury absence with the torn knee ligament sustained in the preseason. Really just a fitting end to what has been a very frustrating year here for the Steelers. So after the penalty, 3rd and 13. Lewis over the middle and a crunching blow. Ball was actually caught by the tight end Watson. How he held on to that football is a mystery. 8 yards, but they're short, and Cleveland will punt.
Well, it was a blitz from the front side. Thad Lewis knows his rules, made the right decision, had to get rid of that ball quickly. But man, Ryan Clark arrived with the bang, perfectly played on his part, and a good tough catch by Ben Watson, but only for a 5-yard pickup, so Cleveland's going to have to punt.
One other injury note to pass along. A rookie wide receiver for Cleveland, Josh Gordon, on a fake punt. Cleveland rolls the dice. They've got it, and a lot more inside Steelers territory. Ray Ventrone taking the snap, rumbles 45 yards, as Pat Shurmur says, why not?
4th and 5 at your own 25. You see Ventrone, number 41, the up back right there, jumped in front of it, perfectly executed. That is not a position on the field early in the second half of the ballgame where you would expect a team to run a fake field goal. But as you said, Spiro, nothing to lose here for the Cleveland Browns, and Pat Shurmur, what could be his last game as head coach, said, let's roll the dice. Works out well for him.
So 1st and 10, Lewis back onto the field, takes a hard hit right at the release point, and a marker comes in late. Josh Victorian on the coverage. And now we'll await the penalty.
A lot of times that happens on underthrown balls deep down the field.
Pass interference, number 35, defense. Ball he plays to the spot of the foul. 1st down.
Well, this ball was underthrown because of tremendous pressure from Steve McClendon and several other Pittsburgh Steelers. You're going to see number 90 make the hit right there on Thad Lewis. And that did not allow Lewis to step into the football. As a result, the ball's behind and underthrown. I really don't know exactly what the contact was there. Maybe just the fact that he didn't look back for the football, but I don't think there was anything done that prevented the receiver from getting back to that football.
Steelers come in blitz on 1st and goal. So the questionable penalty giving the Browns the football inside the Steelers 10. What I was saying earlier before the fake punt, Josh Gordon, the Browns rookie wide receiver, will not return, going down with an ankle injury on the play he fumbled. So one less weapon now for Lewis in the second half, but they are knocking on the door here, down 7, early 3rd quarter. Browns team playing without their starting rookie quarterback and running back, Reed and Richardson. Lewis goes play action, likes to get to the edge, throws end zone, touchdown! It's Greg Little, a marker thrown behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, this is going to be a late hit, roughing the passer. It's going to be called on James Harrison of all people.
Passer, 92, defense. That penalty will be assessed on the kickoff. Touchdown.
Yeah, that's James Harrison that was called, and the history for James Harrison well documented. It was what would now be considered unsportsmanlike conduct, late hit on the quarterback, roughing the passer. You see him coming up late in the picture there. It was a great throw by Thad Lewis to Greg Little in the back of the end zone under the pressure from James Harrison.
What a moment for Thad Lewis. His mom and brother are in the stadium today, coming here from Miami to watch his NFL debut. Crossing on for the point after as Cleveland comes back, and we are tied at 10. Thad Lewis, his first touchdown toss as an NFL quarterback, and we're even at 10. Well, Pat Shurmur's fake punt giving the Browns a chance. They take it right down the field. Greg Little, 7-yard touchdown reception from Thad Lewis. And we are tied at 10 here in Pittsburgh. Long kick fielded by Rainey. It'll be a touchback. Ben Roethlisberger onto the field. A questionable penalty. James Harrison contact well after the throw, giving the Browns a chance.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Zero Dark 30, in theaters January. And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
"10-10 your score. The Greg Little touchdown reception has tied this game at 10 with 11:03 to play in the third quarter. A lot of question marks for the Steelers franchise going into the offseason. We mentioned some of the free agents that they have to deal with. Heath Miller, you don't know what his status will be. The ACL tear sustained last week, but a lot of decisions looming.
Yep, you hit on them right there, Spiro. You know, the question about Mike Wallace, Rashard Mendenhall, they got to decide on that. Then Heath Miller, the devastating knee injury. We'll see how he responds. And I think one area, even though this defense is number one in the NFL, I think they can get younger and deeper. Those are the issues that I think they need to try and fill.
Steelers just trying to get to 500 at this point. Jonathan Dwyer to the outside. Got a Pittsburgh first down. Another Steeler player is injured. That's Kelvin Beachum, who is starting today for the injured Mike Adams. 13-yard run by Dwyer.
Yeah, Beachum, the 7th-round rookie draft choice out of SMU.
Beachum was kind of trailing the play. Not sure what the injury is at this point as the Steelers trainers back. Steelers rookie tackle Kelvin Beachum able to walk off the field, took a blindside hit from Phil Taylor at the end of the last play as they continue to look on him on the sideline. There was no penalty marker thrown, but that could very well be a play that the NFL front office looks at this week. Dwyer on 1st and 10 gets close to the 35. Here's the last play. You'll see Phil Taylor, number 98, at the end of the play, step in front of Beachum, who never saw him coming.
Right here, yeah, right. You see the hit right there at the 30-yard line, and that is an area of emphasis for the NFL this year. They really want to try and protect players on those plays and hits away from the ball when their defense is not expecting it. Phil Taylor had no reason to make that hit on Kelvin Beachum, and I think Phil Taylor will definitely be hearing from the league this week on that one.
John Malecki, the first-year man, former Pitt Panther, has come on at least for the moment in the league for Beachum. 2nd and 6. Roethlisberger's pass deflected at the line of scrimmage. And it will be 3rd and 6 coming up. L.J. Fort, I believe the man who got a hand on the football.
You're exactly right. Came in, did a nice job giving up his body despite the fact that Jonathan Dwyer was coming to block him and almost had an opportunity for Eric Haig to intercept that football.
What a story. L.J. Fort, who's been a rookie out of Northern Iowa, just 22 years of age. Today making his 2nd career NFL start, undrafted. One of the no-name players that has really impacted things with all the injuries that they've had to deal with. Penalty markers thrown. And then another marker comes in late. Plaxico Burress, the intended receiver. That was a 3rd and 6 play, as we'll await the word on the 2 penalties.
You see Joe Hayden, the top cornerback for Cleveland right there, asking what's the problem.
On the defense, offside, 95, that penalty's declined. Defensive pass interference, number 23, that penalty will be accepted. First down.
So Jaquay Parker, the man offsides, and Joe Hayden penalized on the back end.
Yeah, you're going to see, you see at the top of the screen, 95, Jaquay Parker was definitely offsides. And then you see the tug on the jersey right there by Joe Hayden on Plexico Burress. Joe Hayden can plead all he wants, but right there, the proof is in the pudding. We saw he grabbed a piece of that jersey, and yes, Joe, they're going to call that every time if they see it.
1st and 10, they spotted at the 48-yard line. Roethlisberger to throw. Out of the backfield finds Will Johnson, the fullback, inside Cleveland territory, and one out of bounds, just short of that 1st down marker. Well, tonight your fantasy season may be over, but think again. NFL playoff challenge is back and better than ever. You could win a trip to Super Bowl 48 2014. Play today at NFL.com/fantasy. We're at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. Spiro Dedes, Steve Berline, our entire CBS crew wishing everyone a happy new year. Steelers and Browns tied at 10. As we hit the 9-minute mark in this third quarter, Jonathan Dwyer, a fire hydrant of a fullback, so tough to bring down, keeping the legs churning. 12 yards and a Steelers first down.
Well, you see Dwyer, he's in the mold of all the Pittsburgh Steelers running backs. They're all big. They're all right around that 230-pound range. You got to wrap up and bring him down to the ground. And as you see Dwyer right there, if you don't wrap up on him, he will make you pay the price. At the end of it, always falling forward. And these big backs have been going all the way back to the days of Franco Harris through Jerome Bettis and to the current day where they've got 3 running backs that fit that bill.
7 rushes, 50 yards for Dwyer today. Roethlisberger, little flare screen pass to Sanders inside the 20 and another first down. Trevin Wade forces him out, but not before Sanders picks up 12.
Very well run by Emmanuel Sanders. He does a great job of dipping inside to get the defense to bite and then pops to the outside. Nice pickup on first down on the quick screen to the outside.
Jericho Cotchery with a good block on that play to free up Sanders. This will be the 7th play of the drive. Steelers have gone 61 yards so far. This is 1st and 10 from the 19. Shard Mendenhall comes in. Over center for a yard. Tackle made by Ataba Rubin. And Eric Hack.
Now when you talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Rashard Mendenhall, one of the question marks coming into this offseason period, also Mike Wallace. You get the feeling that definitely there's a strong support factor for Mike Wallace coming back in this football team. Rashard Mendenhall, you just kind of get that feeling that maybe they're not 100% committed or married to that idea. But Mike Wallace, no doubt, there's a strong feeling that they need to have him back on this football team if they can afford him.
End around play on 2nd and 9. This is Antonio Brown across the 15, close to the 10. Steelers need to get to about the 9-yard line. I'm glad you mentioned, Mike Wallace again, because something you alluded to earlier as we take another look at the play here.
Nicely designed, the underneath handoff right there to Antonio Brown. And the helmet helped off at the end of the play there by the Cleveland Brown defense.
Ben Roethlisberger was talking about early in his career how the fans were always kind of on Plaxico Burress. And at that point, Roethlisberger was a young guy, didn't want to be too vocal. He says that he's never quite understood why they've had that same response to Mike Wallace, but he said point blank, we need Wallace back next season as he becomes a free agent. 3rd and 2. Extra little burst by Dwyer. He's got the first down. And the Steelers' drive will continue as we come up on 6 minutes left in the quarter.
Well, that was almost the 3rd time in this same exact situation, 3rd and 2 or less, where the Cleveland Browns defense has been able to stand up physically to Pittsburgh. Right there, Jonathan Dwyer did a great job bouncing it back. And on that note about Mike Wallace, Spur, you make great points. Ben said adamantly that not only is he going to talk to us and make it clear to us, but this offseason, until something happens with Mike Wallace, he will come out in support of him and how much he wants him on this football team.
Wallace placed on IR ended this season yesterday. 1st and goal, Dwyer trying to cut back, but the defensive front holding steady. Jaquay Parker, the man who got there first for Cleveland.
In this red zone, this is an area defensively where Cleveland has struggled this year. Fortunately for them, it's been an area offensively where Pittsburgh has struggled this year as well, only coming away with touchdowns 51% of the time, below the NFL average, which is a little over 53%.
Browns coming, 2nd and goal. Roethlisberger feeling the pressure. It's caught. And then it comes loose. So the officials say incomplete through the hands of Dwyer. Pressure coming by Parker.
Now, this is a great job by Ben Roethlisberger doing what he does, avoiding pressure, buying extra time, and then stepping up, making the throw on the money. That's a ball that Jonathan Dwyer definitely should have caught. Hits him right in the spot that it had to hit him to make that catch. He would have had a chance to get into the end zone as well.
D'Qwell Jackson, the injured Cleveland defender. What a career it's been for Jackson, one of the mainstays here, all 7 years of his career with the Browns. I told you earlier, he's never tasted the NFL postseason, but just to come back, you think in 2009, 2010, he missed 26 games over those 2 seasons, 2 different tears of his pectoral muscle. Had a chance to visit with him yesterday. He said there were times where he doubted whether or not he'd ever come back, A, and B, if he'd able to get to his usual high level of play.
It feels like he's a better player because of what he went through during those trying times.
You see his head kind of hit the turf.
The head hit the turf. That might be where it came from. And this is a guy that is one of the few veteran leaders on this team. He's been through the ringer with this Cleveland Browns organization. Really feels like this program under Pat Shurmur was pretty adamant about telling us yesterday that he felt this team was heading in the right direction. He did not like the possibility they were going to have to consider starting over again. He's moving his arm around like it might be his shoulder. Second consecutive year over 100 tackles. He's a very productive, very impressive young man.
Third goal, they spotted at the 9. Roethlisberger tucks it away, throws end zone, it's caught. Antonio Brown, and Pittsburgh retakes the lead.
Well, there you see again the greatness of Ben Roethlisberger. Made so many of these plays over the years. Right there, you see his foot kind of gets caught up in L.J. Fort, and Ben definitely in some pain right now. I believe still hurting from the injury, the rib injury earlier in the season, and fighting through it. He's one of the toughest, most gutsy quarterbacks in the league.
Antonio Brown, the 60-yard touchdown last Sunday against Cincinnati, gives Pittsburgh a 7-point lead. 17-10 Steelers in this third quarter. And now we keep it here, where tempers have been flaring right from the start. Officials have done their best to stay on top of it, but that one, the biggest fight, most intense fight that we've seen today. Doug Legursky, it seems like, has been right in the middle of it. The Steelers, Steve, are still upset. Don't forget the play that Phil Taylor made, the blindside hit earlier on Kelvin Beachum in the third quarter.
And these guys take note of that. And you see right there, there were some people flying over the top of the pile, people doing some, I think what probably Pittsburgh up front thinks a little bit unnecessary for an extra point, but these are two frustrated ball clubs right now, and any one of these things can incite.
After the play was over, personal foul, 2 personal fouls on Cleveland, number 90 and number 71. So 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff.
So Billy Wynn and Ataba Rubin are whistled from Cleveland. 17-10 Pittsburgh back in front.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Samsung Galaxy Note 2. The next big thing is here. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
17-10 your score. Antonio Brown's 7-yard touchdown catch from Ben Roethlisberger puts the Steelers back in front as the ball is blown off the tee after the 2 penalties on Cleveland. Sack on the penalty yardage, so Sweezum will kick from his own, from the 50 rather. As Roethlisberger looks like he's okay, kind of came up hobbling after that last play. That'll be a long off season for Ben Roethlisberger. considering those late interceptions each of the last 2 games, the overtime game in Dallas, another game last Sunday here against the Bengals. Steelers may have to have a player hold here as it comes off the tee again. It's just the little telltale sign, Steve. You think back even to opening day for the Steelers. They were up 19-14 late in the game against Denver. Peyton Manning brings the Broncos back, and Roethlisberger had it all set up for a game-winning drive late, something we've seen from him so many times over the years, but he was unable to do it. And who would have thought that that would have been, kind of the early cracks, the early signs for what's been a very disappointing year.
Well, of their 8 losses, 5 of them were by 3 points or less, or 5 of them by 3 points exactly. And those are games that, quite frankly, that Pittsburgh expects to win.
And what a kick through the back of the end zone and into the third row of seats. Antonio Brown celebrating with Todd Haley and company. 17-10 Steelers. 17-10. Steeler fans enjoying a 7-point lead here at Heinz Field. Temperatures below freezing. 4:38 to play. Thad Lewis feeling the pressure. His pass broken up. Larry Foote was there for the Steelers defense. As we remind you, Thursday on CBS, catch the first new elementary of the year and see why it's TV's #1 news show. Thursday, only CBS.
This is the part of the ballgame, Spiro, where you're kind of used to seeing the Pittsburgh defense take over. The crowd's into it. They just scored to take the lead. We'll see how Thad Lewis responds.
Brandon Jackson on 2nd and 10 has some room across the 40-yard line and finally tackled from the back by Cortez Allen after a pickup of 25 yards.
Well, Brandon Jackson deciding to jump in and contribute a little bit here. Does a nice job of cutting back. You see that great quick decision cutting back against the grain there and then making people miss all the way down to a big gain, big first down to get Cleveland out of their own, deep in their own territory.
Sets up a 1st and 10 at the Browns 45. Lewis keeps it on the ground this time. It's Jackson again. Now Jackson met by a hard hit. James Harrison making first contact.
Tackle by Hayward.
As we come up now on 3 minutes to play in the third, and the Browns down 7.
Yeah, Cameron Hayward in there as well. This is a defense that, as we stated, #1 in the NFL total defense yards wise, but #1 in the NFL against the pass as well, #2 against the run. So there really is no weakness in this defense. Everything you get, you got to earn.
2nd and 8, Lewis throwing sideline. He's got Benjamin for the first down. Inside Steelers territory, and once again Lewis rallies the troops and has them marching down the field. A pickup of 9.
Well, he's made several of these throws, very, very nice throws to the outside that show me a lot. His decision-making, #1, is footwork and the velocity on the football to the outside. Those are not easy throws to make. That ball's got to come out on a line, on time, and he's been very accurate with them all day.
If you just joined us, Thad Lewis making his NFL debut today against this vaunted Steelers defense, led by the Hall of Fame coordinator Dick LeBeau, the 72-year-old. 8 yards that time to Josh Cooper for his first reception. It'll be 2nd and short.
We've seen Cleveland move the football up and down the field several times during the course of this ball game, but they've had to settle for 3 field goal attempts. They've made 2 of them. Let's see if they can finish off the drive here.
Jackson on 2nd and short. Getting back to the line of scrimmage, appears to be about 1.5 yards short of the first down marker.
And one of the luxuries, or the good things you can say about this Cleveland Browns team, is that they've got a lot of good young offensive linemen. In fact, 4 of these 5 offensive linemen that are starting today, none of them have missed a snap this whole season. The only position, left guard, is the only position that's not started every single one of the games and not missed a snap all year.
A fun headline by Joe Thomas, who's headed to his 6th consecutive Pro Bowl. 3rd and 1. Jackson lunges for it. And appears as though he's got enough for the first down. as Cleveland tries to extend this drive.
A good physical play up front by the Cleveland Browns. We're talking about that offensive line. And you talked about Joe Thomas. He's never missed a snap his entire NFL career. And center Alex Mack, who was a first-round draft choice a couple years later in 2009, he has never missed a snap his whole career as well.
So Brandon Jackson picks up the first down. Marcus
False start
coming before
on
the snap.
77. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
It's the left guard, John Greco. Greco making his 10th start of the season. Taking the spot of Jason Pinkston. So we hit the 1-minute mark now, third quarter. Thad Lewis and company will have it first and 15 after the penalty. They spotted back at the 38.
Watch him, Joe.
Lewis blitzed and he's going down. Steve McClendon getting there for the Steelers as they dump Lewis for a loss of 4. And they will spot this one back at the 42-yard line.
Yeah, that was just Alex Mack, the center, Pro Bowler in 2010, just getting beat off the snap, as you said, by Steve McClendon. Also arriving there in case McClendon didn't make the tackle was Cameron Hayward.
Hey, I'm ramming.
Second and 19, Browns going backwards. Lewis goes draw play. It's Montario Hardesty across the 35. Markey thrown behind the line of scrimmage. 10-yard run from Hardesty if it stands, but this one looks like it's coming back.
Holding 73. Offense. 10-yard penalty. Still second down.
That's Joe Thomas.
And that's frustrating to Pat Shurmur as well. I really like the play call. It caught Pittsburgh off guard. Got more than half of the second and long back. Put them in a good position to maybe convert the third down, at least get in the field goal range. And now they're looking at second and a mile as we come to the end of the quarter.
And we are through 3 at Heinz Field. Steelers 17, Cleveland 10. You're watching the NFL on C. Start of the fourth quarter as we welcome you back to Pittsburgh, 17-10. A couple of Cleveland turnovers shooting themselves in the foot, but they've got a chance here. Lewis under center on second and 29 after the penalties. This is Brandon Jackson, inactive for 13 games this season. It's just the second appearance of the year for the Browns. Able to move it across the 45 and close to the 40 after a pickup of 10.
So it'll be third and about 19 or 20 yards here. And I think the goal for Pat Shurmur and his team is to get about half of that back again, at least if they can, to put Phil Dawson in makeable field goal range.
Browns trying to win one for Pat Shurmur in what could be his final game as Cleveland's head coach. Boards swirling out of Cleveland. Pass from Lewis intended for Benjamin, incomplete. Coverage on the play by Cortez Allen. Allen last week playing in place of Ike Taylor. Battling A.J. Green from the Bengals all day long. Green with 10 receptions, but they were very impressed. Allen had those 2 picks. Young second-year man in the back of that Pittsburgh defense. So the Browns will punt. Antonio Brown signaling fair catch from his own 5. So early fourth quarter in Pittsburgh, Steelers trying to get to 500 to close out the year. 14 and change left to play, fourth quarter. Pat Shurmur looking on, trying to get this team to a 6th win. And trying to sweep the Steelers for the first time since 1988. First and 10, Roethlisberger giving to Mendenhall. Across the 5. Tackle made by Frosty Rucker. We mentioned, of course, the decision looming as the head coach, wondering what his status would be. But the other big decisions that the Browns have to make this offseason.
Yeah, you look at the quarterback situation. A lot of people talking about it. Is Brandon Whedon the man? I've got strong feelings about that. I truly think that he is and deserves another chance. But also one of the things I think this team really is missing is veteran leadership in the locker room. They got a bunch of good young talent that needs some veteran winning experience.
Mendenhall buried right at the line of scrimmage. A minimal gain by Mendenhall. We go back to New York, JB and Boomer.
Indy retakes the lead dramatically.
Well, Texas scored 10 points to begin the second half, take the lead 16-14. Here comes Deja Kareem, a 101-yard kickoff return as the magic continues in Indianapolis. They take the lead 21-14. Remember, Houston has to win in order to secure the #1 spot in the AFC playoffs.
Keeping the emotion high. Back to Spiro and Steve.
Well, Houston better wake up. If both Denver and New England win and they lose, Houston can drop back to that third spot.
3rd and 8. As Cleveland's defense sniffing that play out. Mendenhall going nowhere. There is a
Offside,
marker
number
down.
90, defense. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
That's Billy Wynn. Second time he's been penalized in the second half. Now that one hurts.
That's a big one, yeah. Right over the center, you see Billy Wynn just jumping a little early. That was a nice stop by the Cleveland Browns on 3rd and 8. But now you give him the free 5 yards. Ben Roethlisberger's got a little more room to work with. A 3rd and 3 situation, much more desirable. I think Mike Tomlin might allow Todd Haley to even call a pass play now in this situation if he wants to.
Isaac Redman, the lone setback on 3rd and 3 from the 13. Roethlisberger feeling pressure, wrapped up, and he is going down. Jabal Shear, the former Pitt Panther, getting there for Cleveland.
4th down.
Well, there was a lot of pressure on Ben Roethlisberger on that play. He never got a chance to get set up. Atabo Rubin up the middle just pushed his man right back into Ben Roethlisberger's lap, and that forced Ben to step into some more pressure coming from Billy Wynn and Jabal Shear.
Loss of 8. So Drew Butler punting from his own end zone. Josh Cribbs watches it bounce out at around the 45. And that's where Cleveland will take over when we come back. A 40-yard punt by Butler. Pittsburgh with a 7-point lead.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon. Share the holidays with the Share Everything plan. Mercedes-Benz. Experience truly great engineering today at your authorized dealer. And by T. Rowe Price. Understanding the connections of a complex global economy. Invest with confidence.
Well, snow on the ground here in Pittsburgh. Thad Lewis and his Cleveland offense back onto the field. 1st and 10 inside Steelers territory. You see the numbers comparison between Lewis and Roethlisberger. 1st and 10, Hardesty. Resourceful move right over center. Across the 45 and brought down at about the 42. Coming up, time permitting after the game, the NFL Today update presented by Farmers Insurance. We'll send you to New York. JP, Dan Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Cowell will have all the latest NFL scores and highlights. Busy week 17 as the postseason picture materializes. Injured Browns players John Greco, a left guard next to Joe Thomas. It's been a physical game, as you'd expect, between these AFC North rivals. Greco making his 10th start of the season, 50-year player.
And that brings in the rookie backup offensive lineman Ryan Miller, who's kind of a utility man, drafted in the 5th round this year. That left guard position, as we said, is the only position on this line that's had any changeover at all this year. And here again, we see a new guy in there.
They won.
This is 2nd and 7. Lewis play action, dangerous if he can get to the edge. Inside the 40, Browns needing to get to the 35 to move the chains.
Well, Lamar Woodley had a chance to make a hit on Thad Lewis on this play. You'll see number 56, but Thad Lewis is athletic enough to slither past him and pick up 3 or 4 yards and give himself a more desirable 3rd and 4 pickup opportunity.
Now Woodley, the 9-time All-Pro, such a proud player here in Pittsburgh for so long. One of his most unproductive seasons, however. This is 3rd and 4 from the 39. Lewis, near side, Ogbonnaya is crushed by Ryan Clark.
You got to put some blame on this one on Thad Lewis. This ball was not thrown very accurately. If this ball hits Ogbonnaya on the money in stride, I think he's got a chance to turn it up and maybe pick up a couple of extra yards, at least get ready for the hit on Clark.
This is Reggie Hodges, the Roethlisberger will be pinned back deep when we come back. 9:47 left to play here at Heinz. 17-10 Steelers. Looks like John Greco is walking into the Browns locker room. Heard a moment ago. We'll try to get an update as quickly as we can. Ben Roethlisberger back on the field, 1st and 10. But they're pinned inside their own 10 with 9:47 remaining. Roethlisberger, a screen pass. Finds Isaac Redman across the 15, brought down to the 20.
Redman out of the backfield to the 20.
Will have enough for the Pittsburgh first down after a pickup of 11. Wednesday in primetime, JB, Phil Simms, and Chris Collinsworth showcase America's favorite game with their own unique style. Inside the NFL, Wednesday on Showtime.
Nice job right there by Ben Roethlisberger, not seeing anything up the field, not forcing it, knew exactly where his check down was, and
52,
a nice
52.
11-yard pickup.
Black 20. Black goes up.
1st and 10, Roethlisberger going play action on the run. Completes to Sanders across the 35, 16 yards, and another first down.
A couple of really aggressive play calls coming out of your own end zone by Todd Haley, showing the confidence of Ben Roethlisberger here. The bootleg to the right side and a nice route by Emmanuel Sanders. Ball put low and in a good spot so Emmanuel Sanders does not take the big hit after receiving that football.
52. 53. Yep.
Redman, the lone setback, he'll stay on the field here. 1st and 10. Redman brought down. A short gain on 1st down. Steve, I want to go back. We've been talking about Pat Shurmur and what his future will be. Many expect that he'll be released of his duties this week. But Joe Banner took over in October, took over the front office for Cleveland. And when we sat down with Pat yesterday, one thing he said really kind of raised our eyebrows. He said that since Banner came in, he has really not had an extended conversation with him. So you hear something like that, and you wonder what kind of chance he really had here.
Yeah, that's not a good sign. You haven't had a meaningful conversation with the new CEO of the ball club. Jimmy Haslam, the new owner, brought in Joe Banner, and Banner promised to make a quick decision after the season's over. Not a good sign for Pat Shurmur.
Roethlisberger trying to throw to Burris' back shoulder. Well played by Joe Hayden.
You know, the other thing that is going to be very important as we look at the replay of this, it was well played by Joe Hayden. Plexico Burris, not a great route there. I think he was kind of surprised by that football, but the question also is who's going to be the new general manager? And there's a lot of speculation about both positions, and that's going to influence, obviously, how the coaching thing is going to shake itself out, and also the other questions about Brandon Weeden. Who's going to be the GM? Who's going to be the head coach? And how do they feel about those particular positions?
Tom Heckert has been the GM. Of course, Philadelphia background as well. Came in with Mike Holmgren. Spent a couple years trying to reshuffle this roster. And right when he gets a little bit closer, looks like he may be on his way out.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And by USAA. proudly serving the financial needs of the military, veterans, and their families.
Well, there's Joe Banner, seated next to Jimmy Haslam,
53.
the owner of the Browns, former minority owner of the Steelers. Some huge decisions
52.
that'll be made by those two men. This is 3rd and 8. Roethlisberger from the shotgun from their own 37. Roethlisberger wrapped up and sacked again. Sheard getting there for Cleveland. He has been all over the place. Lost his 6 yards in the play. And Cleveland staying within striking distance now with 7 and change remaining.
Well, just a 4-man rush. Jabal Sheard, who was the second leading sack man on this Browns team with 5 coming into the game, just beats his man around the edge and gets to Ben Roethlisberger. Nothing funny or fancy about that, just straight ahead pressure.
Butler's had a busy day on his own 24. Cribbs signals for a catch as that one sails out of bounds inside the Cleveland 40. Tomorrow on CBS, take a trip to paradise and leave winter behind. Hawaii 5-0. Only CBS. It's about 25 degrees here in Pittsburgh. We could only dream.
We are about as far away from Hawaii as you could possibly get. That looked pretty darn desirable, didn't it, out there?
B1, B1, B1.
I said it earlier. I know there are a lot of empty seats today, but this place is about 75% filled, considering that this Steelers team is out of contention. I have to give these fans a lot of credit. First down pass intended for Little, broken up. Stan Lewis going for it here, 6:40 to play. Making his NFL debut, down 7 points to the Steelers.
This was a ball that was forced by Thad Lewis in every sense of the word. There really was nowhere to go with the football. You're going to see in the flat a wide open receiver. Look at everybody up the field. There's nobody right in this area here covering the flat defender. That's where that football should have gone from Thad Lewis.
It's the 2nd and 10, Steelers coming. Lewis again hit as he throws, but finds Benjamin. Ball comes loose late. It's Cortez Allen on the recovery. And the officials say Steelers football. Travis Benjamin arguing that he was down, but I don't think it was even close.
Well, he was down, but he got back up. Nobody touched him. And nope, the rookie, very aware, tried to get up and make a play, but you got to protect that football. The question is, did anybody touch him right there? And it sure did not look as though he was touched by Cortez Allen.
Allen, the 2 interceptions last Sunday against the Bengals. So that's the 3rd Browns turnover.
That's one of those plays, too. Travis Benjamin, being a rookie in college, he's down right now, but he's aware.
Will be reviewed.
Gets up and just does not protect that football. Popped out very, very awarely by Cortez Allen and then picked up and run down the sideline. It was just a little bit careless protection of that football, and it didn't look like there was any angle that showed any contact made by Cortez Allen on Travis Benjamin.
So the play under review.
See the same video the replay official is reviewing through our Under the Hood feature.
Now, the only question is, as he's catching the ball, right in that, is that contact that he reached for him? I just don't think that it didn't look as though there was any angle that showed actual contact. And it was ruled a fumble. So remember, it's got to be clear that the wrong call was made. And I don't think that there's any evidence that there was any kind of contact whatsoever. No, didn't look. He just waved at him, it looked like.
And so, Steve, if it stands, it'll be the 3rd takeaway by this Cleveland defense. And if you want to, find one aspect of this Pittsburgh D that's different from years past, where they've been, playoff teams and championship contenders, it's been the fewer takeaways, that the big defensive plays that we've been used to seeing that just haven't been there for this club consistently this season.
Yeah, coming into this game, only 16 takeaways for a Pittsburgh Steelers team that is known year in, year out for a lot of takeaways. minus 14. This Pittsburgh Steelers team is in the turnover ratio, which has got to be a record for this ball club. They're usually on the plus side. I don't remember when the last time I heard them on the negative side
And
of
to that extent.
Yeah, and you can even take away the 8 that they had in the first game against Cleveland. They would have been still minus 6 coming into this ball game. Now today they've done a great job popping the ball out, 1 interception to 2 fumble recoveries. I think if this one goes the way we think it'll go.
All NFL turnovers with the tweak during the offseason are reviewed as both head coaches await the word. The call on the field fumble, and Pittsburgh football so will need conclusive video evidence to overturn, and I'm not sure we saw it.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Pittsburgh.
Benjamin just trying to make a play.
You cannot fault him for the effort. That's what you want the young receiver to do. He's just got to tuck that football away as he gets up.
So Big Ben back on the field. It's the best field position they've had to start today. Jonathan Dwyer, the lone setback on 1st and 10 from the 27. Dwyer going backwards. Tackle made by Ataba Rubin.
Dwyer, the ball carrier, tackled by.
As we head to New York, busy doings around the NFL. An update with JB and Boomer.
Look at what Indy is doing.
How about this throw by Andrew Luck, guys? Right down the seam on 3rd and 23. They fell behind 16-14 early in the second half. They've roared back with 2 touchdowns. They now take the lead 28-16. Remember, Houston, they win this game, they get the #1 seed in the AFC playoffs.
Spiro and Steve.
Well, they've got their work cut out for the mayor. Certainly an emotional day at Lucas Oil Stadium with the return of Chuck Pagano. There's a screen pass to Dwyer, weaving through the defense inside the 20. Browns, the Steelers rather, needing to get to the 17 for the first down. It appears to be about a yard short.
Nice design on that screen pass, though. Good hard play action to Dwyer. The defense reads it, knows that Ben Roethlisberger's looking up the field, or at least they think he is, and then they find a way to dump it inside back to Dwyer after the defense has turned and kind of run up the field to take away the up the field play.
Steelers trying to run that clock down as far as they can. Browns have 3 timeouts. This is 3rd and 1. Redmond has the first down. He's across the 15-yard line.
Redmond.
Steelers coming at him with those 3 running backs today. Dwyer, Mendenhall, and Redmond.
I've been impressed with Redmond today, but also as the season's gone along, whenever he's had a chance to get in there, he is a force. To me, the most similar style running back they have compared to Jerome Bettis back during the glory days. He's a guy that's just straight ahead, no nonsense, gets physical. Defenders kind of bounce off of him.
52.
Redmond, the former undrafted player at a position 2 Bowie State. Here's Dwyer on 1st and 10.
Dwyer with a handoff.
Gets back to the line of scrimmage. When does Pat Shermer, Steve, start using some of his
Shermer with a
timeouts?
tackle for the Browns.
You know, he's at a point now where he could definitely start trying to preserve as much time as he wants, but there's 2 schools of thought on that. I mean, 2nd down right now, you want him for later, or you want to use the time? Either way, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to make this on them at some point.
Looked as though he said, let's take one after this play. Keep in mind he's got a quarterback making his NFL debut. 2nd and 10, Roethlisberger pump faking, goes end zone, incomplete. What a defensive recovery on the play. Tank Carter was there.
Johnson in the end zone.
Carter, the rookie out of TCU, only 23 years of age, with a touchdown-saving deflection.
And you're going to see, though, this ball was slightly underthrown, Spiro. If this ball is out in front, if it's out in front of Will Johnson, Ben Roethlisberger's got his 3rd touchdown pass today. Just a little bit too careful with that throw. That allowed Carter to get his hand in there and break it up.
So 3rd and 10. It's still a one-possession game at this point. Roethlisberger going end zone again. Touchdown! And look who, Plaxico Burress, as Pittsburgh builds on his lead.
Well, we've seen this movie before. Mike Tomlin loves it. This was an absolute rocket shot out of the arm of Ben Roethlisberger between two defenders and up high. Remember, Plaxico Burress is about 6'4" and big. He goes up and gets that football. Ben Roethlisberger knows he's got the size advantage on the outside and just made a spectacular throw and a great catch.
Burress rejoining the Steelers just a couple of weeks back. Had just one reception in this his second stint before today. For the 12-yard touchdown reception here to give the Steelers a 14-point lead.
Well, there was no doubt where Ben Roethlisberger was going with this football. He did a great job with his eyes before the throw, and Plaxico Burress taking a bow. Well-deserved bow. Roethlisberger says thank you as well. Nothing would make them happier than to go into the offseason on a positive note.
Well, Burress made those critical comments about the Steelers franchise just a week or two before they signed him. That's a combination we never thought we'd say again. Roethlisberger to Burress. So to turn the clock back here to make it 24-10 Steelers. And at least for the moment, it appears that the 3 Cleveland turnovers will be the difference. I would have liked to have seen what Thad Lewis could have done in a one-possession game late, but the Benjamin fumble really hurt.
Well, Roethlisberger told us that he would love to go out and get a little bit of hunting if the season ends. He's not used to having the free time, but he said his wife, who just had their first child, 6-week-old Ben Jr., wants to get down to the sun. She's probably going to win out.
This is Cribbs, ever dangerous as a return man. 8 all-time kick returns for touchdowns, tied for the all-time NFL lead. And as it usually does with the Steelers, it starts and ends with their defense.
And what this defense has done today, not unusual in terms of being able to step up and rise to the challenge, both in the passing game and the run game, but it's been the turnovers today, which they have not seen enough of this year. Mike Tomlin told us that's been a disappointing, the only criticism you could possibly make about this defense. Troy Polamalu, he's been fought injuries this year, but he's given his effort. He's still very, very productive.
Polamalu went down in the opening game with that calf injury, missed 9 games. As Lewis completes to Watson, 13 yards and a first down. Polamalu was never quite himself, Steve, until the game last Sunday when he was flying all over the place against the Bengals.
And he'd probably tell you he's not 100% right now as well, but we saw the glimpses, the flashes last week.
Lewis completes again. That's Cribbs climbing the ladder. 8 yards through the air.
Now remember, Polamalu is in his 10th year as well. We talked about it a little bit earlier. This is a defense that is one of the oldest teams in the NFL, the 5th oldest team in the league, and defensively, a lot of experience.
Looked like Lewis was having trouble hearing the play from the sideline. This may be his own call. 2nd and 2, over the middle, it's caught. Another Cleveland first down to Watson.
A really nice catch by Ben Watson. There was a Pittsburgh defender there, Larry Foote, but also the referee was almost acting like a defender as well.
Trying to get a play before the 2-minute warning. They've got all 3 timeouts. A nice job by Lewis to get him to the line of scrimmage. Finds Ogbonnaya as we reach the 2-minute warning. So Cleveland not going quietly, down 14 points with $1:56 remaining. A reminder to come across these CBS stations. Some of you will see the Dolphins and the Patriots, but the big one coming up in Denver between the Broncos and Kansas City. The updated score right now from Indy: Colts leading Houston 28-16 with 6 and change left If Houston loses and Denver wins, the Broncos with Peyton Manning secure the #1 seed in the AFC playoffs.
Stage could not be set any better for Denver, playing Kansas City of all teams at home against Peyton Manning, right on a 10-game winning streak. It looks pretty good for the Broncos right now.
2nd and 6 as Lewis finds Watson again, and how huge would home field be for Denver, Steve? You consider the altitude.
Tackled by Ryan Clark
Certainly at this time of year, Ryan Clark looked like
and
he's
Larry Foote.
coming up hobbling.
That is very significant. And remember, if New England beats Miami, that could drop Houston down to the #3 seed.
Lewis buried in the backfield on 3rd and 1. Never had a chance. Lawrence Timmons getting there for the Steelers.
Oh, he was shot out of a cannon. Perfectly timed blitz. Thad Lewis never saw him coming. Timmons, we talked to Thad Lewis about this yesterday. Timmons is the one you got to keep your eye on. They like to bring him in whenever they possibly can. Right there, they weren't ready for it, and they paid the price. Oh, man. I'll tell you, that brings back memories right there. I don't miss that. You have no idea it's coming, and all of a sudden, you're on your face.
And in this kind of weather,
That
I'm sure it feels even worse.
That ground is hard, yes, sir.
So Cleveland taking its first of 3 timeouts, but it'll come down to this play. On a 4th and 9, they spotted from just outside the 36.
And that's the beauty of the Dick LeBeau defense right there as well. You make one mistake, if one person misses an assignment, and they do so many different exotic things, someone's going to pay the price. It truly is amazing that Thad Lewis did not drop this football the way that he was hit. Unobstructed.
Well, Josh Johnson, signed this week to back up Thad Lewis, has come in on 4th and 9, so it looks like Lewis is hurt after that last sack. Johnson is hit as he throws. Ball comes loose, and it's recovered by Ziggy Hood at Pittsburgh, and again, it's Lawrence Timmons getting to the quarterback.
Exact same blitz as the play before, and that's what Dick LeBeau will do to you. If you show you can't handle something, you can't handle a look, he'll come back with it. He did the exact same blitz again. Both the center and the left guard, Alex Mack and Ryan Miller, were not on the same page. The rookie, Ryan Miller, who was supposed to bounce out on that play both times. He's the one that got beat, and what do you expect? Dick LeBeau identified the weakness, the inexperience, the rookie backup offensive lineman who's not really a guard. He's a utility man. He plays center guard tackle. They put him in at left guard. He's a step slow. Timmons gets by, and you got 2 big sacks in a row.
Well, Pat Sharmer's hot. Not sure what he's upset about, but Miller coming in for John Greco, who left this game earlier in the 4th quarter. And now the Steelers will try to put this game away. Browns with 2 timeouts to stop the clock. Plays Rainey. And it looks like Sharmer will use his 2nd one here. There's Lawrence Timmons taking exception with the fact that the #1 defense in the NFL did not have a Pro Bowl starter named. Timmons and Clark named as alternates.
Well, I think you can make a case for them, but as you look at Pat Sharmer, there's a lot of things that you can say, a lot of ways you can go. He came out and said, no doubt he was dealt a bad hand with some of the bad luck he's had to deal with. But one of the things he's come out and said, before you can be a playoff team, before you can be a good football team, you've got to be relevant. And he believes that they've made this team relevant in terms of the young talent, the upcoming, what they're moving toward, and he feels like he's earned that opportunity. The question is, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen, is he going to get that opportunity?
Browns have finished the year 5-11, and considering everything we've been talking about today, he's handled this, Steve, with as much grace and class as you could expect. Last year, again, rookie head coach had to deal with the lockout. It was basically a wash. A young team. Said that at times it felt like he was coaching an all-star team, didn't know anything about the players, very little preparation time before the season started.
Also was the offensive coordinator. He didn't have a true offensive coordinator now. He brought in Brad Childress this year.
All things considered, Shermer basically had 1 year, if the reports are true, and he is relieved of his duties this week. Meantime, for the Steelers, they'll miss the playoffs for the first time since 2009, but they avoid the losing season, and that'll make the sting ever so slightly less for Mike Tomlin and this franchise. Embrace between Shermer and Haley, as Pittsburgh will finish their season at 8-8. Special thanks to our entire crew: Ken Mack, John Coleman, our director, statistician is Paul Evans, and Rich Gaynor, our spotter. For Steve Berline, our entire crew, this is Spiro Thetis saying so long.